Welcome back, everyone. Today, we are diving into a really fascinating explainer. We're looking at one of the most beloved, philosophically rich traditional bhajans out there, Achyutam Keshavam. But we're not just going to skim the surface lyrics. We're actually going to deconstruct the deep psychology of devotion it presents. Specifically, we're zeroing in on one powerful theme, exactly why the legendary figure Mira is able to connect with the divine and what that actually means for the rest of us. So let's jump right in.
Who says God doesn't come? I mean, wow. That is exactly how the core message of this song begins. Notice it doesn't start with praise. It starts with a challenge. It hits on this incredibly profound, universally relatable human doubt. We've literally all been there, right? Looking around at the world, feeling totally disconnected and wondering, is anyone actually listening to me? The absolute brilliance of this source material is that it takes this deeply cynical question, this nagging idea that the divine is just absent or ignoring us, and it totally flips the script. It basically acts as a spiritual mythbuster. Section 1. The doubt on God's existence. Let's talk about addressing the cynics.
Okay, so to tackle these cynical doubts, the song first systematically prepares your mind before it even touches the big questions. It anchors us by opening with this beautiful foundational chant, Achyutam Keshavam Krishna Damodaram, Ram Narayanam Janaki Vallabham. By repeating these specific ancient names, it acts almost like a mental palate cleanser, It grounds the devotee, it actively shifts your frequency away from all the chaotic noise of your daily life, and puts you into a focused, reverent state. It's essentially laying down the runway before the song takes off into its core philosophical argument about connection. Which brings us to Section 2, Mira's unique surrender, the ultimate devotion. With the mind now totally focused, the song pivots straight to its primary thesis. And this is exactly where we answer the main focus for today's explainer, how the song positions Mira as the ultimate answer to human doubt. On one hand, we've got the cynical mind asking, well, who says God doesn't come? But the song immediately fires back with the devotional solution. You don't call like Mira. Do you see what just happened there? This song shifts the responsibility entirely. It's basically saying, hey, the absence of the divine, that isn't God's fault. It's a flaw in how we are asking. We aren't calling with the right intensity, we just aren't calling like Mira. So the absolutely crucial point here is this. The divine is accessible. It is. But it requires an absolute unyielding call. See, Mira's devotion wasn't just, a casual prayer or a nice song she sang once a week. According to the text, her calling was an intense, completely unbreakable spiritual demand. She didn't just cross her fingers and hope the divine would show up. Her complete and utter surrender left the divine with absolutely no choice but to manifest. To connect with God, the text argues, you have to cultivate that exact same level of all-consuming, focused desire. You literally have to want it like Mira. Moving on to Section 3, Maternal and Joyful Devotion. Looking at different forms of connection.
The really beautiful thing about this song is that it doesn't just stop with Mira. The lyrics actually expand their character study to show us that while Mira's calling brings God to us, a deep connection can take a few other beautiful, incredibly intimate forms too. It gives us 3 distinct devotional archetypes. First, we have Mira's calling, which, like we said, is all about summoning or bringing the divine directly into your presence. Next, we have Yashoda's motherly care, which is about putting the divine to sleep. And finally, the Gopi's joyful surrender, which is all about making the divine dance. The text uses these 3 legendary figures to show that a relationship with the ultimate reality isn't just one rigid, boring thing. It can be fierce, it can be nurturing, and it can be incredibly joyful. Let's look a bit closer at those last 2. So the lyrics ask, who says God doesn't sleep? And the answer is, you don't put him to sleep like Mother Yashoda. Yashoda represents this pure maternal archetype. And this is fascinating because it totally humanizes the divine. Instead of viewing God as this distant, terrifying king of the universe, this line suggests you can actually love the divine the way a mother loves a vulnerable child. It's a profoundly personal, protective, and nurturing bond. The connection is forged through tender, everyday care. Next, the lyrics ask, who says God doesn't dance? With the response, you don't make him dance like the Gopis. The Gopis represent a completely different flavor of connection altogether. Joyful, ecstatic surrender. This brilliantly illustrates that true devotion doesn't have to be entirely solemn or serious all the time. It can be a highly dynamic, playful, and celebratory relationship.
If you aren't experiencing the joy of the divine, the text implies, well, it's because you haven't surrendered to the rhythm of that joy the way the gopis did.
All right, Section 4, the path of duty and devotion, karma yoga in practice. So we've talked a lot about these grand mythological archetypes, Mira, Yashoda, the gopis, but how do you actually apply this as a regular person, with a job and a family? The song transitions so beautifully here, from high philosophy to a practical, everyday roadmap. The lyrics give us 3 explicit, completely actionable steps. Keep doing your work, keep chanting the name, meditate on Krishna constantly. This is a brilliant summary of karma yoga. The song is explicitly telling us that you do not need to abandon your life, quit your job, or drop your responsibilities to connect with God. The real secret is integration. You balance your worldly duties with a continuous, quiet, internal spiritual focus. Basically, you work with your hands, but you keep your heart calling like Mira. And if you actually follow this roadmap, what's the result? Well, the lyrics assure us, Yad aayegi unko kabhi na kabhi, Krishna darshan to denge kabhi na kabhi, meaning sometime or the other, he will remember you. He will grant his divine vision. This is the ultimate reassurance for the listener. It fully acknowledges that, the journey might take some time, but it guarantees that consistent devotion combined with your daily duty inevitably leads to that ultimate connection. That divine vision isn't just a maybe, it's a certainty, as long as the effort is genuine.
Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. The song Achyutam Keshavam doesn't just want to entertain you with a nice melody, it actually wants to challenge your entire approach to spirituality. It takes all your doubts about whether the divine is even listening, and it places the power firmly back in your hands. It tells us that connection is absolutely possible, whether that's through the protective love of Yashoda, the joyful dance of the gopis, or the fierce, unyielding demand of Mira. So the question you really have to walk away with today is this: are you ready to call like Mira? Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. I hope this really helped illuminate the brilliant philosophy hidden inside these timeless lyrics. Keep seeking, keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.